So there is some parts of user administrations we will cover for the first, next 15 minutes, and then we will jump into the other sections. So as you could see from user administration or user profiles, there are several components interlinked, right? You have a user, the user is mapped to a group, and user is assigned with a role. So I'll explain today for how we can leverage the roles and groups functionality. Okay, there are multiple ways that you could assign a role to the user. For example, you go to a user profile, in related list, you automatically click on edit, and from there, you give them whatever role you want or remove those roles from them, right? But the other option and the correct method is we will have to map roles to groups, and that group we will have to link to the user so that they inherit the role. Let me take you to groups table. So under system security, I have groups. I'll probably look into some random group. Okay, there's a group called change management. And if you see, currently there's only one person mapped to it whose name goes by the name change manager. And that person has the role change manager as well. Now let's see if able tutor has the role change manager. CHANG. Now you can see that able tutor does not have the role change manager. Now there is two options that we can give him this role. One is click on edit and just type in change underscore manager and give him this role. If not, I'm going to give cancel. I'm not interested in giving this role right away to him. Instead, what I will do is I will add him as a member of change management group and save it. Now what happens is you can see that the roles that are linked with change manager gets added to him. For example, change manager role, ITIL and other stuff. So let me refresh the form. You can previously it was 27, it jumped into 31. And there are fields called inherited true and all of that, right? So you can see that. Okay, it will give you an idea how is the inheritance map and how the role was obtained to the user. For example, I will filter down to the change manager role and I will click on the inheritance map. It will tell it will tell you how this role was granted to the user. It is because he was added to the group change management, which contained the role change manager, hence he acquired the role, right? And again, there could be a question. In this group, under role section, there is only one group called change manager. Then how come suddenly when I add able to this group, it is showing like adding role this, adding role this, this. There were four roles. So that might be confusing for you. This is again a role within a role, right? Meaning there's a box and inside that you have another box. Probably inside that other box, you have another box. Now you present it to your friend one box, okay? So while receiving, your friend might think, okay, I'm getting one box, but in fact inside that you have kept another box, and inside that there's other two set of box that you have kept. So from looking outside it might appear to be like one single box, but in fact there were several boxes kept inside each of them. So that is how inside this change manager role, there are other roles like personalized decision table, ITIL, change SOC admin. Now, how do we see, okay, what are the boxes inside is? So you have this roles thing, you open up them and you can see that This change manager role, the role is change manager, it contains further three more roles, right? SOC admin, ITL, and all of that. And in fact, even if you can see, this role may or may not contain even more roles inside, right? So I just opened up this ITL record and I can see it contains another 15 roles, right? So one role containing multiple. So like that, this chain can go on. These are the roles that were created out of box when the system was developed, and it is used across all the incident change problem management. But when you develop your own application, you can design something similar or having this kind of functionality in mind, and probably align it with your requirement. So, what is the benefit of keeping like this? What is the benefit of keeping the roles inherited from groups rather than directly giving roles? Is because uh, you want this person to become a change manager, right? But tomorrow we want to remove him from the change management access. Then we do not have to worry about, okay, what are the roles he has. We just have to remove him from the group, which in turn he will automatically be revoked of the roles that he has already received, right? So in terms of user administration and for reporting, it is even more convenient and easier, and this is how the process works. It is always advised to map roles to the groups and thereafter add users to the group as members so that they inherit the roles, right? Any questions with regard to how to play with groups and the roles and users?
Once again, show me how to add to the group.
So in left navigation, you go to groups table, right? And then you choose one group probably. So for testing, I've taken a group called change management. So I've gone to this tab. When I click on this, it opens up to this tab. Underneath, you have a related list called roles and group members. So as simple as that, you just click on edit. It will open up a slush bucket. You call this as a slush bucket. And you choose people that you want to be added to this group, right? And save it. So now what happens is these four people are now granted with all the roles that is expected, right? Now, so these are out of box, I told you. Uh, let's get to the point of how do we create roles, right? How do you create roles is again, left navigation you go ROLES roles. Under user administration you have roles. Open up the record, click on new and testing underscore role. Never give a space or capital letter here. Always try to stick with small cases and probably using dot or underscore rather than any other special characters. So this is for developer documentation, right? Now, what I can do is I can map this role to change management group. Right now, change management group is containing only one role, right? Now, I can map the new role that I created with the change management group, right? So the moment you added this, there are already six people, right? So we need to give these six people that role. So you do not have to do anything with the members. Automatically, you insert a new role for this group. System knows what to do. So system will automatically add this new role to the available six people who's already present. So you can see six records, right? Now, now there's a question of what is this thing called elevated privilege, right? So for example, right now, this role has no functionality. We have not defined this role that this role can have access to this, there's nothing. What we can do is, you remember we created an application yesterday, a menu module. Okay, so let's say my custom table, right? So what we can do is, I will update this testing underscore. Save. All right. And now I have changed the configuration such that people who have the role testing role will be able to access a module called my custom table extending task. You remember in one of the previous session we created two tables. One goes by the name my custom table extending task. The other one goes by the name my custom table non-extending task. So for this table alone, I have given this role. Now, if I impersonate a able tutor, if I impersonate able tutor, you will be able to see that. My custom table. My custom. Okay, you can't see it yet. This could be because the modules also we will have to map it. So under this application, you have one module. I will also add this non testing role to this my custom table non extending module. Okay. Application is just like a category. Under that you have a component called module, which is nothing but a table where it exactly takes you to the table thing, right? So if you do not have access to the inside box, but just give them the access to the category, it will not show up. Now that we have updated the roles of both application and the modules with testing underscore role, now when we impersonate able tutor, you should be able to see it. Right? My custom table extending task. Now he is able to see it. But he is able to see the module, but not the table because he requires table level ACL. But you got it right. So this is how you give access to the modules. Modules are nothing but like redirection links that are available in the left navigators. Now coming back to the topic of what is called as a elevated privilege. Let me enable elevated privilege, save this, and afterwards now I will impersonate able tutor. So I just type my custom. You will not be able to see that, right? The reason is because I have marked this role as an elevated privilege. Now, coming back to the understanding of what is elevated privilege is, just because he's logged in, he will not get that access of the roles. Instead, he has to elevate his profile before trying to access the components of the role. Meaning, let's say I am able tutor, so I need to go to my profile and click on something called elevate roles. Give me a minute. Okay, maybe I would have to refresh. But what would happen is you have something called elevate roles, right? So you will have to click on elevate roles so that this comes up here. Let me add myself as well in the change management group. So I've added myself to change management group. So I'm going to get all these uh, two roles, testing role and change manager. Again, if you see, I will not be getting that testing role right away. I would have to click on elevate roles, and here the testing role checkbox will again pop up. I think right now we're not seeing it because of cache maybe. Okay, probably when I log out and log in, I'll be able to see. But the point of elevate roles is that you will not acquire the benefits of the role just because you're logged in. You will have to go, click on elevate roles, enable this checkbox, and give OK. Only then you will be able to attain the privileges of that specific role. So let me show you what are the roles that we have in our system that are defined as elevate roles, right? Okay, I will do right click filter out. Filter out means filter out the false elevated privileges, meaning show me the ulta. Show me the ones that are marked as elevated privilege true. Security admin is one thing, testing role is just what we gave, and work there's some other role called workspace list admin. So only these are the three roles that are defined for elevated privileges. Among them, we have the first two, so it comes up in the bar when we log in. So if you ask me what does this security admin role does is there is a table called ACL, right? Access controls. So you do not generally have access to um, edit any of the ACLs. As in, like let's say I want to modify the create ACL, I will not have a direct access if I do not elevate my profile. Like I'll do a logout.do so that my session is kicked out. All right. Now that I have logged into the session, so let me refresh this ACL thing. So you can see that even though I'm an admin, right? So see, this person is a system administrator, but even though this person is not able to um, edit any of the components from the access controls. So in order to edit them, what I need to do is go to my user profile and click on elevate roles. And there you can see testing admin. And you remember like 10 minutes back, we enabled a testing underscore role as well as elevated privilege. So it starts coming up there. So I mark this testing admin and I'll probably enable testing role as well. But for this requirement, just so it tells you that grants modification access to the settings allows user to modify the access control list. So now that I have elevated my privilege, then I will refresh the screen. Now I should be able to edit all the ACLs that are available in the system. Right? Now there could be a question why something like privilege. It is because there are some very crucial or sensitive roles which ServiceNow does not want to have give it to you by default, because if you end up updating something, it is a trouble, right? So hence it is always given as an elevated privilege if there is a lot of uh, crucial or sensitive information configuration is required, so that you are in your own senses and you acknowledge to the system that yes, please, proceed and give this elevated privilege to me, right? So it's like a secondary affirmation before you attain the access of that specific roles. So every time you log out and log in, um, but you feel, oh, I need to update some ACL, every single time you have to enable the elevated privilege. Now that I have elevated my privilege, this will be enabled for my session until I log out. The moment I log out and log in, again I have to enable that elevate my privilege like that. Elevate privileges and groups and roles, all of that.
Ma'am, I have some poor internet connection, so I couldn't follow this properly. So, in short, elevate roles are like we are providing for the user with separate roles, right?
Okay, so
By through the box.
Mm. See, elevated roles are like nothing but a normal role, but just that you have the checkbox. There's a checkbox called elevated privilege. You have a checkbox called elevated privilege that is checked true. That is what you call it as an elevated role. Nothing difference, right? But what is the point of checking this box? How does it make a difference from other roles? Is that, let us say I have testing role, okay? And you could see that I gave role to able tutor. Now that I have logged out, so I think it should work now. I will impersonate able tutor. So this role is mapped with an application called my custom table extending task, and again a module called my custom table extending task. So now, just that we have already given the role called testing role to able tutor, we expect him to be seeing it in his left navigation, but he can't see it, right? So this is something weird. So here you must put something called elevated privilege. Let me do one thing. He still does not see it. The reason is because I need to log in as him and log out and log in so that his session, a new session ID is created for him. Okay, I'll just put a dummy password. User ID is able.tutor. Password is just password. I will go ahead and do a log out and okay, in login.do, I'll give able tutor and password. Okay, now that is logged in with uh, now that is logged in with a new session ID kind of a logged out and logged in, right? Now I will type my custom. So again, as I told you, that my custom table extending task is accessible for people who are admins, and apart from that, people who have testing role, right? But we have given able tutor already the testing role. So it is strange that he's not able to see it in the left navigation, right? It is because we have enabled the checkbox called elevated privilege for testing underscore role. So once it is checked, they they have to go to the user profile. There is something called elevate roles. They have to elevate the role to testing role and then give OK, right? Now if I type my custom, he will be able to see, right?
Okay. So to access few tables, so we do give few roles using that groups. So here also we need to elevate him to that particular user, right?
Okay. As you said, in order to give access to few tables, modules, and all of that, we need to give him role. There is two option.
Yes.
We can give a role to some individuals using uh, roles edit, right? Other option is we can map the roles to the groups. We can map the roles to the groups and then add the person that we want to the group. So automatically, as a concept of inheritance, they will acquire that role, right?
Yes.
Now, while developing a requirement, you could create two types of roles. One is the normal role, the other one is a elevated privilege role. The point of having an elevated privilege role is where that role is some junior role or something. At that time, you would use elevated privilege checkbox because just because the person is logged
No,
in.
no, your
Hmm.
voice is getting stuck.
Okay, is it better now?
Yeah, it is better now.
All right. So the point again is just because somebody is logged in, we don't want to give them during certain times. So for such crucial and information roles, crucial and important roles, we will enable this elevated privilege checkbox true. Otherwise, 99% of the roles are like this only, unchecked only. Like 1% of very important roles are enabled with elevated privileges, such that when people log in, not just they will get it directly, they have to do extra double clicks, meaning on the login session they have to go to my profile, elevate roles, and choose that elevate privilege checkbox, so that they acquire that role only for that session, like that. Again, want to do
Okay.
something with that role, again they have to do the same procedure. It is like an extra check and extra affirmation, because we identify that this role is something, it has a great thing to do, it is very sensitive role, something like that.
But, okay.
All right. Okay, so now I have quickly showed you as well how do we map roles to applications and modules, right? While explaining this testing role concept itself, I've told you. So there are several modules and applications that you would create, right? In left navigation, the bigger one, the one that's in black color, you call it, the ones that is little aligned to the left border is what you call it as an application navigator. The one that is a little like 2 inches right, 1 inches right, is what you call it as a module. This is what you call it application module. This is just menu module. Okay, application module is nothing but it is a category. When you click on this also, nothing happens. It is just expand and show and hide. It doesn't do anything much. It is like a category, right? It does not have anything, it is just containing few elements inside, and you can have one or more modules inside this particular application navigator. For now we just created one module. Like this you could create multiple modules as well. Now, so these modules are there, right? These modules are nothing but redirection link. It could be a redirection link, or it could be displaying you a table, or it could be anything. Let us identify how this module was developed. So I just go to the right and click on the pencil icon. This pencil icon is available just because you're an admin. For other people, this pencil icon would not be available. So now that I have clicked on the pencil icon, so it tells me that the title of this module is my custom table extending task. So I can rename it to quick link to table, something like that. And this is mapped under the application that says my custom table extending task. So just because it says application menu, it did not mean that you created an application. It's just a menu, like a category that you have created, right? And this one is non-editable. The moment I say save it, this will also get appended with the title value, so no worries. And visibility, who can see, right? So we have given that the people having this role and the people having this role can obviously see it. And in addition to it, since we are system administrator, we get to see most of them. So without having to write it separately, admins also will get to see it. And then what kind of a module is this? So you have several link types. So you have these many options. Like you could just give like slash google.com. If you give like slash google.com, it will open up, but it will open up like this, right? So any page name you can give. So arguments is that after that URL, what has to come is what you call it as arguments. And assessment is that you have several surveys inside the system. So probably if you want the user to be taken to a specific survey, change request satisfaction survey, something like that, you can just pull and pick it from here. And content page is again, uh, so once I save, uh, I mean there is another field that starts appearing, and there you can give the page link to it. And like that you have HTML from arguments and all of that. In window name, like nothing but if you want to open that in the same window, same tab, or in a new tab, like if you give underscore blank, it will open up in a new window. If you just leave it like this, it will open up in the same tab. And list filter I think is what it was originally there. So when you say list filter, so you want to tell the system what is the table that you want to display, and do I have any filter specifications, like only the ones that are active is true, assigned to a so and so, like that. Okay, I have something called a list of records. Again, this will work with window names and arguments. You can just give the redirection link, and you can even define view names. So you creating views for um, creating views on form and the list. See, when you open up a record, you see certain data, right? You probably see some 10 to 15 fields. Now you see a lot of fields, but I have option to change my view to self-service, which will end up in showing very few fields. Like in self-service view, I have few fields. Like that, there are several views in form. Similarly, there are several views in list as well. So these are the list views, right? So in URL, you can see that the backend name of this view is ESS. So it says spam view is equal to ESS, and I can give incident so that when the record opens up itself, when you click on that link, instead of showing the previous list view, it will show in this list view. Like that, you have options to customize that. Like that, this separator is nothing but like it will generate like kind of an application menu, a kind of a separator underline it will form. Again, similar that you have option to click as survey. These are the different module types. And now coming back to override application menu roles, right? So what this does is, application is a bigger category, and inside that you have components called modules, right? So usually we assign a role to. So if you leave this checkbox unchecked, what happens is whoever satisfies the role of this one, my custom table extending task, will automatically get visibility to the inside modules as well, unless and until you mark it check and you put some fresh roles, right? So you give them a token like, oh, you can see this application menu bar. If it is unchecked, what happens is, um, without having to define explicitly, they will be able to see all the contents in the inside of the application navigator. But if you want to restrict only one module uh, which is different from the application, then you will just enable this true, and so the system will evaluate, do they really have these roles, right? One of these roles. So this is how modules and link type works. So what you can do is, you can try to, as a part of an exercise, you can try to create new modules for your new tables, and just switch the access of the modules and applications based on this module roles. Any questions for this? All right. Yeah, was there a question? Okay. So here in user table, you see a lot of fields, right? In this, there is a field called department. Let us say you want to create a new department. Now, what do? Is you click on the search icon. Um, right now, there isn't any other department mapped, but you can see that all these data is stored right now in a table called departments table. So you have one option. You can just type departments, and system will take you to departments table. So you see 7 in this record. Otherwise, let us say if there is no left navigation available, so it is always a shortcut to identify and decrypt the URL. So this is your instance name, right? Dev so and so dot servicenow dot com. Afterwards, whatever follows, cmn underscore department, right? And you have to ignore the underscore listed or do also. It is like a parameter. So cmn underscore department is what you call it as your table name, the table backend table name. So always the shortcut to access a table is, okay, so always the shortcut to access the table is, you give the table name here, and you give dot list, right? This is the shortcut. If you might want to take a note, you can, table name dot list. So this, what it will result is, you have to give enter in your keypad. It will take you to this table. But let's say you want to go to this table in a new tab, then same but list in capital, right? So it takes you to a new tab. And one more thing is, you remember that I've told you, when you want to configure several components of the roles of the table, then you have to do right click configure all, isn't it? So the shortcut for this again is, so you get to see this page, right? So instead of going in double clicks like this, so you just have to remember your table name dot config, config in capitals, and you give enter. So what happens is, in a new tab it opens up, but not the form or the list. Instead, the configuration components of that particular table. So as I told you, any table for that sake has several components like business rule, client scripts, dictionary entries, dictionary entry overrides, notifications, and all of that, right? So like that, uh, this is a department table, and what are the other reference table? This is a company table. So if I click on, can tell somebody tell me what is the backend name of company's table? Were you able to identify from the screen what is the backend name of company's table?
No, ma'am. I couldn't. CC
For
user
company,
to.
company underscore company.
That's right, yeah. So when you open up the table, you have to focus onto your URL, and you will see your instance name followed by whichever word is there, right? So in between the instance name and underscore listed or do, whatever you see is called your table name. So it's called core underscore company. Now I will put core underscore company here.
dot list, right? So why it is important for you to know the table names? It is because you cannot always expect a module. What is a module? It's like a redirection link, right? You cannot always expect that there is a module created. Imagine what if this is deleted, right? If what if this was never in your screen? If it is not there, you will never go to this link, right? But you should be able to access the company's table or whichever table, even though there is no direct redirection links for you available. I can show you few more examples, like change, right? So in front screen, it might look like change request, but you can see that in the URL, the table name is change underscore request underscore list, right? So the table name is change underscore request. To be very precise, you can open up a sample record and there it will tell you what is the table name. Just after the URL .com slash change request dot do and sysid. Sysid means, I told you, remember, it is a unique across the instance with this some 32 alpha numerical combination across the instance. You could not find the same sysid value for any other record except for this record. You can't find the same sysid for an incident table or user table, nothing, right? And obviously this record is right now opened up in default view. So it says default view is an empty view kind of. So it says spam view is equal to empty. Now I can change it to ESS. ESS is self-service, right? So just watch my URL. Previously it was like this. Now in spam view is equal to, I'm putting it as ESS. ESS means employee self-service. In other language, self-service view. So I just give enter. So you can see that the view would have been changed. Hmm. Okay, so you can see that both are the same view, right? And syspam domain is equal to null. So domain and all you do not have to worry. And number of records it shows is 1. Syspam record rows is 11. It is because it was originally 11 and we opened up one record from that, right? So it was saying that the original set of records were 11 and from that one record was opened up. And what is the filter query that you used here? The filter query that you used here was active is false, right? So the query that was used is active false and it was sorted based on descending order. DESC represents descending. Order by represents sorting, right? In Excel you do sorting A to Z and all, right? So we have, you can see, right? We have done sorting Z to A on the number field. So that is what this it says. Active is false is a filter that we had applied and we did sorting. Sorting means order by, descending means DESC, right? Based on number. No stack, this you can ignore. So if you read the URL itself, you can identify how this record was originated, what are the several components of this records, right? And one more thing I can show you. So when you do a right click um, and you give show XML, so I mean, you know this XML concept, right? Like when you work on integrations and all, the data that you receive or send is most probably in XML formats. So in your front of your eyes, you can see that number is so and so, requested by so and so, short description is so and so. But when you look at the XML, it always gives you the backend values. For example, every field that you have in the system has a backend value. Additional assignee list backend value is this additional underscore assignee underscore list. Instead of giving this, if you give additional without space assignee without space list, it will not work. So you'll have to be careful of what is your backend name is. And okay, so there is a field called assignment group. Its display value is service desk, and its backend value is this SID, right? This is nothing but, since assignment group is a reference field, the value will always return the sys because it is a referencing table, right? So if you open whatever is the sys 6D25, that is what would have come up here, 6D25, right? So this is how you look at the XML of a record. XML always shows fields even which are not visible in front of your eyes. Like for example, if I remove this layout, change this layout such that I can see only number and requested by. However, if you click on show XML, you will be able to see all the hidden field backend values as well. Just to see that value, you do not have to do right click, configure list layout, form layout, nothing like that. So you can just do right click show XML and look at that record that you were trying to find. Any questions on this? Okay. So you remember yesterday we were working on notifications and we created notifications and all of that, right? Now let us say in your company how you will have your instances. Instances is that not everybody will have a direct production instance. For example, let us say uh, um, you work for a company called Mahendra. Okay, so they will have an instance called Mahendra.servicenow.com, and they will have another instance called Mahendra hyphen dev or just dev, whatever, develop or just development, however they want to rename it, right? Service hyphen now.com, and again Mahendra test dot service hyphen now.com. So this name is the first parameter name is up to their own choice. So this they call it as a production instance, which is used for end users and all. So when you do a development, like when you write a client script, you write a notification or developing platform, right? So every tool requires a developing platform and it requires a testing platform. You cannot do everything at one place, right? Because this instance is used by people. At that time you can't develop in middle of people using the instance. So there will be an instance called development, there will be an instance called test, and even companies have more than 5 instances like POC instance, staging instance, development tool, like that. Each one comes with its own cost. Now, now let us say you create a notification or do some development in development instance. Now it is all working fine. So as a developer you find that it is working fine, right? So you will have to hand it over to the testing team for to test. Now the testing team will not be testing it in this to test it in this instance. Now what will you do? Will you just recreate whatever you developed in dev and put it in test, or what will you do? There is something called update set. Update set is some a package which will contain all the development activities that you have configured so far or as a part of that specific activity. You just have to do a 1 minute job, which is nothing but you have to take an XML of that update set and upload it in test environment. Job done. So whatever development you would have taken hours or days to work on this instance, developing a notification or some business rule client script something. Now in order for somebody else to test it, to move it to other instance, you do not have to copy paste every script to the other instance. Instead just download that XML from development and upload it in test. Job done. Same wise, let's say now the tester says, gives you a thumbs up and says, hey, it looks good. Now the same update set you will have to take it to production. So this is what you call it as an update set, right? Now, in the gear icon under developer, there was something called show application picker in header, show update set picker in header. So before you start working on it, make sure it's enabled, right? I have enabled both of them. Right now, we are just working on global application, nothing fancy, just global application. So for other 10 sessions, it's going to be the same. Don't worry. But update set is you should not work on default update set. You should work on your own created update set. Now, what would you do is there is something called local update sets module. You click on there. Again, local update set module is a redirection link that takes you to a table called sys underscore update set, right? So you create a new um, development activity 1.0. We'll put July 9th. Okay. And state is same. Parent not necessary, it's not like a mandatory date. And if you have a release date plan, like at this so and so date you want to deploy this to production, you can give the date. But we do not have any specific requirement, we can leave it. And this has nowhere linked with automation, like if you give a date at the same time it will go and do it in production, nothing like that. This is just for documentation, and this parent is also something similar to documentation, and this description also something similar to documentation. Now I have to click submit and make current, right? The moment I do that, you can see that it changed from default to development at this place. So if I click on this drop down, it says my current update set is development activity 1.0. Now I will just click on to this kind of booklet bar. So if I click on, it will take me to the update set, and in that there are some related lists, right? So whatever I'm going to work on further, it goes and gets captured here. So let me take you to some notification record. Notifications, under system notification I went to notifications. So there is an existing notification called email assigned to SE task. I will just rename the notification, or I can do anything like I can put basically I have to do some changes to this notification. So I'll just put my name to it and save it. Right? This is nothing but typically changing a configuration of a notification. Now, if you look at this update set, I'm just refreshing. So you could see that there is a customer update added to this update set, which is nothing but this notification. You could see that there was a change made to this notification and it got updated here. Let me open this record to show you in elaborate. So this basically contains the XML of whatever change you have done. These are all just for your extra knowledge. You don't have to worry what this XML contains, nothing like that. But you will also have, you will have to be very careful that every time you do a development work, make sure the update set is ready and it is marked as a current update set and it starts appearing here. If it doesn't appear, just click here and update it with the current update set, whichever you feel like. Now, an update set contain one record or 100 records, 1000 records, anything. Now we have done just one configuration change to one notification, so only one is there. Probably, let's say I want to change my module, right? Okay. Hmm. We created a module called my custom role something. I will remove the roles from here. Done. And update.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Hmm.
So
Now,
whatever change done in instance that will be affected on this.
that will be captured. Your changes will be captured in the update set. It is important for you to create a new update set and make sure it gets captured. Only then, if you want to transfer it to some other instance, we can do it. For example, let us say I developed one application like I developed an application called COVID Tracker. Okay, so the module, the uh, the development is nothing but I'm creating a table, I'm creating a left navigation module called COVID Tracker. Inside that, I'm giving several modules like um, COVID active cases, COVID recovered cases, COVID mortality cases, and vaccination records, vaccination status. I create several modules, and I create some 2 to 3 tables. And in that tables, I create client script, business rule, everything, right? Let us assume. Now it is important that before I do any of the development work, I need to keep an update set and make it as current. So, and I can forget about it. I do not have to come and see and every time is it refreshed, nothing. Just for testing or demoing, I'm showing it to you every single time. You can forget about having this update set because you've already created and kept it as active. Now, whatever you have done, like that COVID tractor tables, modules, client script, business rule, everything will be captured here. So probably I will end up creating like 300 customer updates. Like 300 means like not 300 tables. Like one table is one customer update. Inside that you create 5 fields. Okay. Then it is 5 customer updates. So again, for that 5 fields, like let's say you create a UI policy. You create 3 UI policies. Again, it's like 2 plus 5 plus 3. So every record you do right click and save, it creates a new customer update for that. Now I have developed that and I want to share it with my friend, or I want to push it to production. Now what I will do is I will go to the state complete and do a right click and save. Before I do a right click and save, just watch this option. There is something called merge and scan, right? I'm not bothered about this at this point. I'm doing a save, the form reloads, and I can see that. Okay, and can see that there is one more link that says export to XML. This is an important point. So you have to take an export to XML, and now if I just share this file, it's an XML file. If I just share this file with any of my friends, then they will be able to import that in their instances. Like for example, let us say we have Venkatesh and we have Rahim. So Venkatesh developed an more application called COVID Tracker. So he wants to share it with Rahim. So you can just give that update set. XML file to Rahim. So Rahim has to do some 2 minutes job of importing that update set in his instance. So whatever Venkatesh has done in his own instance will now be reflected on Rahim's instance. Right? That work is for just training. I'm saying this example, but on company scenario, update set is used to move your work development activities from one instance to other. So as I told you, a company has a production, development, test, and so on, multiple instances. So when they want to move the work from one instance to other, they will use this update set functionality, right? So from today onwards, when you start developing any work, make sure you have an update set. So and you do not have to create update set daily, just keep on update set. Make sure it is marked as current and make sure it shows up, in this place. uh, in order for this to show up in this place, you have to go to developer from the right gear icon and enable this show application picker in header, show update set picker in header. That is what is important. So there you can see what is the current update set that we are in currently right now. And once the update set is complete, you will not be able to keep that as current update set. So that is why right now it does not shows in the drop down. Previously it was showing, right? Since we have marked it complete, it no longer shows in the drop down. Any questions so far?
One show how to create an update set.
How to create an update set, right? Okay. Update set. there is something called local update set, right? Local. You give new. You go to the table and you give new test development v 2.0 something. Okay, it can be any name. So it is by default in progress. So I just click on the button called submit and make current. Don't give submit, just give submit and make current. So if you give submit and make current, it will automatically become your current update set. It says with the info message that your current update set has been changed to tst dev v 2.0, right? And you can see it on the top bar also. Now you can forget about this. You can just continue with whatever development activities you have. And finally, at the end of the day, if you click on this booklet bar, you will be able to see that all of your activities are captured in the update set. Right? Is that clear?
Yes. Also, if I export this XML and share with someone else, how can they
How do
import?
they? Mm,
Input, yes.
um, okay, so now I have exported this one, right? Can someone give your instance? I can import the same thing in my instance itself, but it will be nicer if you give one of your instance. Um, can I have one of your instance URLs and username and password? Okay, so in the meantime, you get that ready or something. I can show you how you do it in your own system. Okay, but it will be more sensible if I do it in somebody else's system. Only then you will see that okay, the changes are reflected. But I can show you just the steps. I can show you. So the plan is you need to retrieve the update
So,
sets in your update system, right?
so after
Okay.
logout, the default will be changed, right? In the update set, or it
No,
will be
no, no.
same.
It will be same. It will not be changed unless and until you close your update set. You mark your update set as complete. Okay, so here for Venkatesh, it is no longer showing. I will just click on gear icon, go to developer. I will just enable this show update set in picker. So right now for him, it only shows default because till date he has not created anything, right? Which is fine, no problem. So he has to go to retrieved update sets. So the purpose of this is we are going to retrieve an update set, right? So there is a module called retrieved update set. So if you over itself, it tells you the like a hint. It tells you update sets that have been pulled from another ServiceNow instance, right? Now this is nothing because he has not pulled any update set from any other instance. Now we will do that. There is an hyperlink called import update set from XML, and what we already have is also an XML, right? So I'll click on this. So I will go to downloads and choose that specific file, and I will give upload. I will just have to wait for a second, and you can see a field called state, right? So it says loaded. Now I have to open up this record. So there is something called preview. Preview means it will look for any errors or any concerns in the update set. Before committing the update set, system will look. When you click on the data, system will look at that. It says that there is one error. Okay. So what does it say? Could not find a record in sys application for column referenced here. If you remember what are the things that I captured in my update set is, I captured a notification, like I just changed a like I just changed the assign who will receive. I will just added my name to who will receive in notification. This notification is something that is already available in your system, so it did not create any error. Whereas in this module is something that I created by my own, right? So that is fine, that is fine, but the other concern is that this module also contains components of other tables, meaning it contains application menu, right? This is coming from another table. You can see, right? Sysapp module is this table, sysapp application is the other table. So system is telling you that, I will repeat. This is what I captured in update set, right? I just removed the role. So this table is sysapp module. You can find that my customer update record is sysapp module. But the problem here is that it is referencing another record in another record from a different table, which is nothing but from a table called sysapp application. So now with this knowledge, just read the error message. It says, could not find a record in sysapp application table for one of the column called application referenced in this update. You understand, right? So what I should have done is, while capturing an update set, I should have captured this as well. At that time, if I had done like that, there would not be any error. But since I did not capture this one, I just captured this alone. It shows me an error. Now I can choose one of these options. For now, I will give accept remote. Accept remote in the sense I'm telling the system, okay, that's fine. Whatever is available, just retrieve that. That's what you call it as accept, right? Again, I'll repeat again. Accept remote is because you say, oh, I understand there's an error, but whatever is the limited data that I've captured, just push that for me. I'm giving that instruction to my system. Now that it says that all the problems have been addressed, you can click on commit update set to continue. After committing the update set, okay, this you don't worry. Subscription management, this is about cost and licensing. You don't worry about this yellow notification. So I click on commit. I have to wait for another couple of seconds. So this timer depends on how large is your customer updates. If it's like 2000 records or something, it will obviously take some 5 minutes. It is just small 2 records, so it will take a fraction of a second. Now this is done. You could find the changes applied here. Okay, you can't see the module yet because he does not have the roles that we have defined. Um, So you can't see it in the left navigation. However, if he goes to the table sysapp module.list and he can give updated Z2A, he will be able to see this table. You will be able to see this module that was developed. But it will be in kind of a broken structure. So why do I say it's a broken structure is because um, there is no application. In my update set, there is no application mapped. In my update set, the table, I created a table, but it was not captured in the update set, right? So you can see that the table is also like kind of broken. It tells you that application menu is empty, right? And in link type also, it doesn't show you the proper table name. Instead, it shows you with the backend name. Whereas in here, you can see that it shows properly. The reason is because the referencing table was also not captured as part of my update set. These are all extra information. But again, coming back to your question, you just have to click on retrieved update set, click on import update set XML, push the file, upload the file whichever you download, we have taken already, and there will be 2 buttons called preview. If there are any errors due to some negligence or some half finished activity, you might end up getting an error. So give appropriate solution like accept remote or skip remote. That and all I can explain further when we jump into more of development activities. And finally, if there are no errors, right away there will be a button called commit update set. So you just have to click that commit update set, job done. Whatever the changes that you expected will come back in your system. Right? Any questions on this?
Also, my current theme is another color, but it's showing the basic color for you. Why it's like that? So you logged in with my credentials only, right?
Right. So probably, when you try to log in from a different machine, at that time it shows up a general settings. So this settings are theme settings are like user personalizations, right? So user personalizations might reflect only to the current instance of the user.
You got it.
Right. Anything else? All right.
So we
So
add
mm,
roles to the groups,
mm,
and for the groups we add users, right? For
correct. We
assigning
added
roles to
members
them.
so
So
that
for
roles
particular
inheritance concept.
means for some users we'll give only certain, I mean, individual roles, right? For that, we should give personally or
Yeah, you can use both the options, but it is as a best practice, right? It is not wrong to directly give the roles to the users, but as a best practice, like um, see, somebody requires a role because they have a responsibility, right? Let us say you need a change manager role. It means that you are a change manager, right? You need to have the responsibility of a change manager. So there will be automatically already a group created called change manager. If not, you can create one, and after that give this group membership to the user that you're looking for. Again, it is not that it is wrong to give direct roles. If you have a requirement that it has to be given directly, you can give no problem. But I'm talking about best practices, in organization structure, as in terms of reporting and documentations, and aligning as a process. At that time, this is a more viable solution. Any query? All right, I've stopped my screen share. So you have 2 days of time. Just focus on to more of practice sessions, and you have Srinivas document, right? The ServiceNow Live First Edition. Refer to the exercises that is available in the system, and refer to the recordings, and spend the 2 days, of course, in your leisure time. Just make use of the time and do some exercises. As